welcome again to the Broken Record Podcast. This is our second episode. In this episode, I'm going to be interviewing Gibson Musisko. He's the singer of local Pittsburgh band Posterchild. How are you doing today?
Hey Donovan, how's it going? Good to talk to you.
Yeah. So Gibson again is the singer of Posterchild. And how did the band form? Because
We've been together a long time now. I want to say it's coming up on 4 or 5 years. And we all went to the lineup has changed here and there, but a lot of us went to high school together at Alderdice High School here in Pittsburgh. Um, and the rest of us we picked up along the way from our local music scene and things like that. A lot of things have changed, but now there's five of us in a pretty final formation. But mainly it was just our own um, each other's interest in music that brought us together wherever it may have been.
great. What inspired the name Posterchild?
I had I always get asked about it, and I try to remember every time, but I had like a notes app on my phone because anybody who likes like writing music or whatever, you're always like waiting for that day. I was 14 or whatever. I'm like, bro, I'm gonna have a band soon. It's gonna be dope. And so I had like a list of band names for when the band happened. Um, and at the time, I didn't really see it as realistic that it would. And then all of a sudden, I had these guys that wanted to play music with me, and they're like, "Yo, we need a name." I'm like, "Let me consult the app. I got you. I've got a database ready to go." Um, and so when I looked at it, I had some stupid names in there. I think I was 15 when I put the names, but then there was Poster Child, which was just by far the coolest one. They were like, "Yo, boy, that's dope." So we had to do it. Um, and I wanted it to I at the time there wasn't any like artists or songs with that name, and I thought it was unique and cool until the Chili Peppers put out a song called Poster Child that like ruined everything, ruined our whole search results and everything. uh, but before then there was nothing, and it basically just means like the figurehead or a representative or like it just felt bold and unique and very independent to me, and I really liked the way it felt to say and the way it looked in writing. So we had to do it.
Yeah. What was the process like for, I know, starting the band, but also for sort of uploading music online, like to Spotify or Bandcamp? Because I know you were around for like 5 years, but you first started publishing music, at least on Spotify, in 2024. So what was like the transition period from that like?
That's a really good question. I like that. Yeah, so we were just kind of dilly dallying for a couple of years, is what that comes down to, like doing whatever. Um, there wasn't a lot of exciting things happening, but we hit a point where I realized that I had amassed some really good songs, and our shows were starting to have a more serious attendance. And that happened in the neighborhood I actually live in, uptown here in Pittsburgh, over on Gist Street. We were doing shows at this spot, and the Gist Street shows were starting to be huge, like, sold out every time we did it. Like, we did them every other month or so. And we were like, there's real demand, and there's a group of like 90 people who want to hear the songs, right? Um, and we kind of asked them what their favorites were, and I go, you know what? Let's record an album. I decided this toward the end of 2023. And so in February 24, we got serious, picked at the time 9 songs. I think that became 8. And said, let's do these. And I wrote here, let me pull up Vengeance Says to make sure I don't say anything stupid. But I wrote like a lot of them previously in 2023, just like for myself. And I wrote them and then the band used them. And then there's a couple songs we wrote for the album. Like, for example, uh, the track Bovines in the Fence, we wrote for the record, which was cool. And the Hawkline Monster was written for the album too. Um, Major Arcana, my dad and I wrote together, which was dope.
Oh, cool.
So they all kind of pooled from different sources. And I viewed Vengeance Says as like a best of to that point of a local nothing band, right? Like nobody knew who we were. We were totally anonymous under the radar. We put the album out over everything in August 21st, 2024. So it had been months at this point, and I produced it myself. I recorded it myself. That's why it sounds like crap. You know, these are the mics used in the album right here.
Nice.
uh, and this is the interface, and everything that's here is what we used on it. Um, and it sounds like crap, but it has personality. And it was received really well, and I think it's at 50,000 all-time streams, which is a lot for a local album.
Wow.
Um, and the kind of journey there was like realizing that the songs weren't just stupid and that people actually cared about them. I think that was the transition point, was people starting to care, which is all anyone could ever ask for in this business, I feel like. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. What were some of the inspirations for the band that you can think of? Like a.
Well, there's a lot of different ones, and I'm the lead songwriter. Other people write with me sometimes, but like mainly my musical inspirations are what are most clearly crystallized on the albums. Um, at that time, I was listening to different stuff, but these days, I would say The Strokes, Jeff Buckley, Radiohead,
Nice.
Pavement, The Cars, The Cure, Bruce Springsteen, uh, Clairo. I mean, all my favorite crap. Um, and the new record, I was listening to Justin Bieber and Dijon, which is cool.
Nice.
Uh, David Bowie.
Oh.
Bowie was a big influence of the first album. But the first album is like a Strokes album. Like it's recorded like crap in somebody's basement, and everything's really stripped down. But the inspirations changed going forward. I think that we have, at least I am very thoughtful about what I wear on stage. So we have kind of fashion inspirations, and we talk about like what we're going for there. But we really, at least according to what we've talked about, we tend to view the band as a football team. And it's like I'm our coach, and I tell us what our moves are going to be. And after shows, we review footage like it's a football team,
Yeah.
and all the players do their thing. And so whatever I say is going to go down, we talk about it, we work it through, and make sure it's cool, and then we do it. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Regardless of what our inspirations are, that's how they get communicated, I feel like.
Cool. You mentioned how you were getting a lot of attention locally around 2024. Um,
Yes.
when did you start getting attention from like local press, like the Trib mainly, and what was kind of that like to get attention from newspapers or magazines?
The Trib didn't care in 2024. They cared this year, which is
Huh.
cool. Um, they didn't care. WYP gave us a lot of great press in 2024, which was a really big deal. The Pittsburgh Post Gazette gave us some coverage, but um, I wasn't very happy with how that article turned out, so we haven't really advertised that a lot. But
Yeah.
it was kind of just it seemed like they didn't listen to the album. That's what it seemed like to me. Which it seems like you have listened to the album, which is cool,
Yeah.
and I'm grateful for that. But like WIP had us be their artist of the week. We did a couple WIP events. Mr. Smalls and the Acoustic Cafe at Mr. Smalls gave us a lot of publicity because we would attend there all the time, and that's kind of where we got our start performing as our modern lineup with those modern songs. Um, so it was mainly venues and individuals like Joey Spihar, the morning show host at YP. Randy Bauman at WDVE gave us publicity with Major Arcana. Um, so it was stations and people like that. And then this year, when Leaving New Mexico came out. I think actually the Trib, Mike Palm from the Trib, reached out to me, if I'm remembering correctly. I might have asked him, but I know that we did a more intentional publicity push this year, and that definitely did really well. It got us thousands of monthly listeners and things like that. And um, I'm not really big on streaming numbers, and I think it's stupid and it devalues the artist or whatever. But I'm also still grateful for it. And but yeah, the publicity at first we had to ask for it, and now it's kind of coming our way more naturally, which I'm really grateful for, because that is not a guarantee, and a lot of people spend their whole lives asking for that publicity. Um, um, so yeah, I mean that's kind of where coverage started versus where it ended up. We really had to fight hard at first. Um, but it worked, and it built us a fan base that can sell out 200-person venues regularly here in Pittsburgh, which, you know, you're never gonna hear me complaining about that. You know.
Yeah, nice. Um, Obviously, you released an album earlier this year. Uh, what was like the difference of, or like the difference in process of music making from Vengeance Says to Leaving New Mexico, or was there like a really big difference in that?
Yes, there was, absolutely. The biggest difference is Vengeance Says was self-produced and self-recorded, and Leaving New Mexico, we worked with the producer Jake Hanner from Pittsburgh. He is the man. And I say this as somebody who grew up on a ton of local Pittsburgh music, local Pittsburgh artists, and like CDs from like Meeting of Important People and Andre Costello and people like that shaped my whole world when I was a kid. And because I knew them, because my mom was in the music game, my dad was in the music game, and I like knew these guys, and they were just such legends to me. And so I figured out who produced their albums that I loved as a kid, and it was Jake. And I met him at a show with one of those childhood favorite bands, Meeting of Important People, for their new record back in January of 2025, I want to say. And I said to Jake, I said, "Hey, I'm working on this record. It's like Spoon, which I forgot to mention, but Spoon is a great band that we love. I forgot to mention that earlier. I was like, it's gonna be like Spoon. It's gonna be like Radiohead. I want strings on it. I want all this stuff on it." I said, "Can you do it for me?" He said, "I mean, I've never heard you play. I missed your opening spot at this gig. You know, I've never heard if you're good." And I said, "Jake, trust me, we're good. Uh, I'm gonna write you a bunch of great songs, and I'm gonna come in and yeah, I have them already done, or whatever." I said. I said, "Just what's your rate?" That's what I asked him. I said, "What's your rate?" I didn't even really. I didn't wait for him to confirm that he wanted to do it or anything. I just asked him if he would, and he told me his rate. We got working. And we started working again February of 2025. So we've been trying to do pretty formal album cycles and take it pretty seriously. And we hope to tour the album this summer. But he pushed me creatively in so many exciting ways. But he also was really receptive to a lot of things that other producers wouldn't accept. Like, for example, every vocal on the album is recorded on this here instead of something more like this, like a condenser microphone.
Yeah.
Like that's typically what they would want you to use, but I used a SM58 adjacent microphone on the whole record, because I said that's what Michael Jackson did on I think Off the Wall. He did he would stand on a wooden box and he did his tap dancing. He would wear like tap shoes and he would do his dancing, and they would mic him and he would hold the mic and he would do his thing, and then they would mic the box and add that to the percussion section. And we didn't make my feet into the percussion section, but we did do a 58 on my vocal. Um, a lot of producers would have gotten really angry at that, but he was willing to work with me on it. But in other ways, it would be like I'd bring in a song and he would go, "This isn't working. You have to cut the song." And I'd be like, "What?" He'd be like, "The song isn't going to work. It's not up to par with the rest of what you're doing. You're better than this." And that challenged me. I felt threatened. And then I was just like, you know what? He's right. He's got more experience than me. He's smart. I'm in. You know, I'm going to listen to him. And there was a lot of moments like that where he would just cut parts or cut concepts, and I would push, and I would be the creating force, and then he would be the trimming force, which is exactly what a writer and producer should be. And a lot of the album was recorded live in the room, to the click, all at once. We didn't do it in layers, which isn't typical for his production style. So I think that we pushed each other creatively in a lot of different ways. And I felt really, really, really happy with the album we got. Whereas Vengeance Says was a bunch of compromises. I felt like Leaving New Mexico was the sort of product that I could be proud of, in terms of its narrative and its themes and everything. I felt really satisfied with what we got out of it. Thanks to Jake and thanks to the band.
Great. Um, I know you probably don't want to hear this because you just released an album. But what are some of your plans for the future of Poster Child?
I do want to hear it. I'm different than everybody. Listen. Other people are like, man, I'm just done. I am hungry for this crap. I live for this. And I have over 200 completed, recorded, and everything songs. And it's just a matter of going through my catalog and writing more and more and creating and figuring out what's going to happen next for me. That's all I do every day. I actually, what I do is I print CDs. I have it all here like props. This is hilarious. I print CDs of little albums, of MP3s, of my demos that I make on my computer in my home studio here. Um, and I just listen to them and I say, if this album was complete and I heard this, would this be a great album? And I go, no, no, no. I change around the arrangement. I put in different songs. So, I've come upon one of these demo CDs that I really like. Um, and it's an arrangement of songs, so we're getting to work on them. And the future is, we're gonna try to do a 2 week tour cycle, in this summer, if all goes according to plan. We have some people working with us to book those shows and that sort of thing. We're gonna hit a bunch of northern cities, and then we're gonna hit a bunch of southern cities. And it should hopefully be a really special, one of a kind time. Mainly touring, leaving New Mexico tracks and old Vengeance Says songs if they hit hard enough.
Nice.
But in the future, um, I have a really big, really special album planned for the third album that I view as being a way of entering into a much bigger, pond than just the local one, and a way of getting a lot of new ears on these songs. I think that they're much more accessible. They're clever. They're all the things that I think people appreciate about these ones, but, um, they do a whole different thing, and I really, um, sorry, I'm searching for the right words with this here.
That's all right.
There's like four songs on this album that I can't give a timeline on or anything. They're still just ideas in a demo thing, and we don't even know how we're gonna record them yet or anything. But once the songs themselves are so good, I think that they're gonna hit people a really special way, and I think it's gonna reach a lot of people. And that's how I view our future. I view our future as within the next year or two. Um, I want to really, now that we have a catalog that I'm proud of and I'm not ashamed of our work, I want to just really hit it hard, and make a really spectacular, very special album. Um, and that's the plan. Is just doing that basically at any costs. And, uh, the avenues to do so are definitely different in this day and age than they would have been when anyone I know got into the music business. So we're kind of clueless as to what to do or how to do anything.
Mm-hmm.
We're just treading new ground out here, trying to figure out, this business from scratch. But we want to figure it out. That's the point. We want to figure things out. We want to come out on top. I think that's the goal. Just like, like I said, we're a football team.
Yeah.
And we want to go in, we want to play the game, and we want to play it hard. And I think that we want to come away with a musical victory in our hands that we're all proud of, we're all happy with.
Yeah. Great. This was the Broken Record Podcast. Thank you again, Gibson, for going on.
Thank you, Donovan. I appreciate you.
Yep, and thank all of you that are watching, and I'll see you guys next episode.